Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Flippin' the Bird podcast. I'm your host, Luke Lawhorn, the current sports editor at UTSA student newspaper, the Paisano. Good to be back here with my guys again this week. We don't have Nick with us, even though he's been on the first, 4, 5, 6 episodes with us. But I do have Connor, Rylan, and Aramis with me. Rylan, how are you doing, man?
I'm chilling, a lot of good things to talk about, and got a good Monday Night Football game coming up. We won't touch on that, but yeah, I'm chilling.
Yeah, man, doing good. Just happy to be here. Happy to talk some sports with y'all, and of course my Cowboys and Texas Longhorns won, so I'm very happy.
How are you guys doing? I'm doing good. A lot of stuff happened this weekend. For one, I'm glad that UTSA didn't play. And two, I'm a very happy Ravens fan right now. We won, and then everybody else in the North lost. So, yeah.
I'm sure you are really happy, Aramis. I'm a sad Bengals fan today because unfortunately our season is over. But other than that, I am in a good mood and excited to talk about some college football. Even though my team had a bye week, there's a lot of good storylines and games that happened over the weekend. My personal favorite was the USC Colorado. Of course, probably everybody's favorite game of the week. All the stories there. Caleb Williams went into Boulder, threw a party, had 6 touchdowns in like the first 3 quarters on that Colorado defense. But the Buffaloes did make a comeback, made the game a little closer. However, they did fall 48-41. Starting with you, Rylan, what were your takeaways from Saturday's game?
Well, I think it really just confirmed what I thought going into the game. I did pick Colorado to beat USC, and they didn't. But one of the reasons I did pick them to win was because I have zero faith in the USC defense, and I think that was confirmed this weekend. I mean, everyone is putting up points on USC, and so it doesn't shock me at all that um, Colorado, Shedeur Sanders was able to go in there without Travis Hunter, a special weapon on offense and defense. And, it was a little bit of a blow at the beginning, but, they started to, come together as a team, started to formulate, and they could have won it. Like, I don't know if y'all were watching at the end when they had the ball and they were running the ball, like with 5 minutes left, and they just showed no sense of urgency. So, you know, it was a good game. Caleb Williams threw his first interception of the season, kind of just chucked it up there. He can just trying to see what he can get away with, which I don't blame him. But yeah, man, he just no trust in the USC defense, all the trust in USC, and a lot of hope for Colorado going forward.
Yeah, I'm the same with you on the defense for USC. It's looking pretty skeptical for me. I don't know. They 41 points against Colorado, who struggled against Oregon. I think that was a big takeaway for me because it was looking like it was going to be another Oregon-like performance. But then they showed a bit of fight in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, and they made it. I mean, it was only a 7-point game. Like, it was a very, very good showing in the late stages of the game. Shout out Omarion Miller, 7 catches, 196 yards. He was averaging 28 yards a catch. That's insane. Jimmy Horn as well, 2 touchdowns. He's really impressed me. They've got a good group of wide receivers, Colorado. I feel like they've given Shedeur some targets and some options. So I think, like Rylan said, Colorado's got a lot of potential still, and I think even though they lost this game, I think it's very promising still for the Buffaloes.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback off of what these guys said, the USC defense is very suspect. Over the last, what has it been, like five games, they've been allowing 400 yards of offense per game. It's just not a good defense. They can't stop anybody. Obviously, Caleb Williams looks like he's probably going to be the first back-to-back Heisman. And the offense, I mean, they're just going to put up 40, 50 points every single game, but that defense is not good. I think they deserve to be, one of the top teams in the country, but that defense looks like it's going to hold them back whenever, the bowl games come and, if they get into the college football playoff. I do not trust that defense whatsoever. But as for Colorado, I think they should feel great about this game. Nobody expected them to be in it. I surely didn't after the thrashing that Oregon put on them last week. But to have it be 41-14 at one point and then come back and have it be a one-score game to end it, obviously, you would have liked for Shedeur Sanders to, if you're that guy, you throw it at the, like Rylan said, why are you running the ball and wasting so much time on that last drive? Throw the ball, save as much time as you can, but didn't happen. But still, great game for Colorado and okay game for USC, but that defense is very concerning.
Well, I don't think no one's saying anything wrong here. I mean, but is anybody surprised with how the score ended or how the game ended, I should say? I mean, we all knew USC would win. I knew. I mean, we were proven right that they were going to throw a party all over the Colorado defense. It was like we were almost right in every single aspect because we picked the outright winner. Then we knew that USC would attack the Colorado defense, which they showed us for a whole half. And then we saw the vice versa happen when Colorado was lining up the USC defense for a whole half. And then, of course, Colorado kind of mismanages the clock at the end. They were playing like it was a one score game rather than two. There was like they were playing for the onside kick. Not really a good strategy there. Obviously, we knew Caleb Williams would be the best player on the field that day. 6 interceptions, 30 of 40. I don't really knock them for the pick. I mean, they're really out there just experimenting. It's just practice, these first month of the season. So don't really shame them for that. But for USC, it's pretty interesting because they won, and I think it was a tough game to win, but they went down in the rankings. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. They dropped a couple spots, and most notably, they dropped behind Oregon, who played the same exact team a week ago and obviously blew them out 42-6. Oregon's now 8 in the rankings, which, by the way, the two teams play in week 12, the second to last game of the season. So that'll be very interesting. I just want to ask you, Aramis, real quick, then you can hand the mic to Rylan. We'll hear what he has to say. Do you think that USC, despite winning and dropping in the rankings, was justifiable?
Yes, I think so. I mean, again, like I already said, the defense did not look good. The offense, we know what they're going to do with Caleb Williams, but for the defense to look that horrid against, again, Colorado's a great team, but allowing 41 points to them when you're scoring 48, it's just not a good look. I think they should have dropped. I think they deserve to drop. In Oregon, blowing out Colorado and then having another great game this week, I think they deserve to go over them.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think USC deserves a drop. I think Oregon's a more well-rounded team out of the two. I think you could argue, and it's probably correct to argue, USC has a little bit better of an offense, of course. Caleb Williams, we could talk about him all day. But I think Oregon's defense is way stronger. I mean, what they did to Colorado was very, very impressive. So I definitely think it's justifiable that USC dropped, and I can't really see why USC fans would be mad about that after the performance against Colorado. I mean, they gave up 41 points.
Yeah, well, it's a team ranking right now, and but right now USC is Caleb Williams. Without Caleb Williams, they're like lower 25, maybe not even top 25. They are so reliant on Caleb Williams that it's impossible to put them ahead of any other team that's showing success and like efficiency on offense and defense. There's no defense, and if you want to be a top ranked team, you have to be balanced on both sides of the ball, and right now they're not.
Yeah, I look at the rankings and I think they're pretty good because I look at the top 8 and I'm like, oh, literally all 8 ahead of them, I feel very confident would beat them. And I do think USC would probably be in. I mean, they'd be in every game or probably win every game against the opponents that are behind them. But looking at the schedule real quick, oh my gosh, that is such a brutal end of the schedule, which, by the way, this Saturday is already the halfway point for some teams, already playing 6 games of their 12-game season. So this season has already flown by. So they play Arizona this week. They're going to blow them out. But then they go to South Bend and play Notre Dame, who, by the way, we'll get to them in a second, who beat Duke. That's a good win. Looking good for Ohio State, by the way. So they go from Notre Dame to the next week they play Utah. I know they just lost, but that's gonna be tough, right? You would think at least. They play California terrible, but then Washington, Oregon, UCLA. So that'll be a big game. I don't care if UCLA is ranked or not. The Pac-12 schedule makers really mess with USC right there because that's their playoff chances on the line. Or these next 6 weeks, they got to win out because I believe if the Pac-12 has one loss, they're not going to make the playoff. But moving on, as I just mentioned a minute or two ago, the Notre Dame and Duke game. Notre Dame is coming off beating Ohio State 2 weeks ago and now beat another ranked opponent, this time Duke, in the Carolinas. Beat them 21-14. They did struggle for a little bit, but came out with the win, 2 straight wins against ranked opponents, and now barely, right outside the top 10, highest ranked team with a loss. I'm not sure who has the mic right now. Rylan, what was your take on the Duke and Notre Dame game?
It was interesting. It was just like the game against Ohio State. It was a good old fashioned football, dogfight, and Duke really showed me something, keeping this one close. I mean, Duke showed a lot of heart. Riley Leonard did have one interception. Sam Hartman is mid. Like he doesn't move me in any way, and I think that's going to eventually hurt him. Down the line, you got to have that type of guy that can go out and win you games. And yeah, they won this game, but it wasn't because of Sam Hartman. You know what I mean? But a lot of fight out of Duke. Wins a win for Notre Dame, but in the long run, I think Sam Hartman being horrifically mid is going to affect their chances going forward.
You got to be the biggest Sam Hartman hater this side of the Mississippi, man. I mean, good night. No, I definitely agree. I think Duke, I kind of figure when I watched them play Clemson, obviously with the big upset, they're a scrappy team. Like, they fight every play. And that game against Notre Dame was just a fight. It was just an old school physical. Like, I heard one of the commentators say, like, if you want old school hard knock football, that was a game. Like, and I think it's a good win for Notre Dame because every game's not going to be easy. But the ability to pull out games like that and go out with the W in such a pretty hostile environment, and Duke, it looked pretty good in Durham. They were rocking. That's very impressive. Obviously, Sam Hartman, he's kind of been inconsistent, but Audric Estime, 18 carries, 81 yards, 2 TDs. He kind of helped become the bell cow of that offense that night. So I think it was a pretty impressive win for Notre Dame, though.
So I caught the end of the game, and especially that last drive, I thought Duke had it in the bag, especially because they pinned Notre Dame at the 15. But as much hate as you guys are giving Sam Hartman, he had a good final drive, went 85 yards, and then Estime, that 30-yard run to seal the deal. It was heartbreaking because I picked Duke to win, and I think a lot of us here picked Duke to upset Notre Dame. So it was heartbreaking, but Notre Dame, good win, defensive battle, and they pulled it out. But I really wanted Duke to pull it out. It's disappointing.
Well, Aramis, unfortunately, that was not my upset of the week prediction because mine was almost way more successful. It wasn't pulled off. Of course, we're talking about the Eagles and Commanders game, but we're not talking about the NFL. Notre Dame Duke, yeah, it was really a lot like Ohio State, just not nearly as cool or traditional or historical at all. The numbers are similar because both offenses were pretty slow. Obviously, Notre Dame is way happy because they're on the, victorious side, unlike last week over there crying to the media all week. But very, I'm looking down at the first downs, 16 and 17. Very close game. But then you go to third down efficiency. Notre Dame is 3 of 15 on third down. That screams Sam Hartman all over that right there. They were 3 of 3 on fourth down, if that helps. Had less total plays than Duke, but you could just see right there they were in a dogfight. Could not get their offense moving again. But I do have to credit Sam Hartman because you got to have some veteran leadership to pull off, a near victory against Ohio State and then a victory against Duke in their place. I said earlier they were just outside the top 10. On my screen, they are number 10. So I would say that it is their season to lose because, of course, if they went out, that's a very big if. But if they do, they could go to the playoff, especially with USC on their schedule in a couple of weeks. Last game I want to talk about at length is, of course, the home state of Texas, who dominated Kansas 40-14 on Saturday. We were kind of waiting for that, coming-of-age party for Texas to finally handle one of their opponents. We expect Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State to, 50-something to single-digit a team or just 2 scores, and Texas kind of did that, 40-14. It was a good win for the program. Now heading into the Red River rivalry. Sorry, that's always a tongue twister. Rylan, how would you assess Texas last week and going forward? Are they legit?
Oh, well, yeah. I think they're extremely legit. I think they're the most proven team in college football right now. I mean, you look at Michigan, they've played, the school of the blind every week. You got Georgia, who almost lost to Auburn this week. No other team in the top 4, Ohio State obviously had a decent win against Notre Dame, but no one else in that top 4 moves me the way that Texas does. I think Texas has the pieces that can get them, as far as, the national championship, truthfully. But I don't think this game really was like, it was a good win, but I mean, they had Jason Bean at quarterback for Kansas. Jalen Daniels got hurt pre-game or something like that. So they took care of business against a ranked team. No starting quarterback for them, but win's a win against a ranked opponent. You'll take those, especially going forward. But yes, going forward, I think they will be the best team in college football this year.
Every week, or we talk about Texas. I'm a Texas fan. This dude Rylan's got more confidence in Texas than I do. No, I do think they're legit, though. I actually have a good feeling about this year's team. I might jinx it now. I just got to give it also to Jonathan Brooks. I mean, 21 carries, 218 yards, 2 TDs. The kid from Hallettsville. I don't know, just down there in that area of Texas, they just produce so many good talents, like Jordan Whittington from Cuero, Brooks from Hallettsville. It's a hotbed down there. He sat behind Bijan for I think a year or two. Now it's his coming out party. They got CJ Baxter in there as well. And in my opinion, I think this is the best receiving core that Texas has had in the past 10 years. I mean, Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Jonte Cook, Jordan Whittington. I mean, Jatavian Sanders, but he got hurt, so I'm kind of worried about that. I just think the offense is so high power, high octane. Sound like I'm describing a racing movie, but that's just how it is. I mean, very excited. I just hope they keep it up. And I mean, the big test is next week or this weekend against Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, like Connor said, they have a lot of pieces on the receiving core. And then big shout out to Jonathan Brooks. He had an incredible game. And Texas in that game against Kansas, they had a slow start, but that second half dominated, outscored them 27-7. And for me, I mean, looking at their schedule, I mean, their only test is this weekend against Oklahoma. And I think Dylan Gabriel, it's going to be a good test for them. But if they're able to win that game, I'm looking at the schedule right now, they should win out. So big test is this weekend. If they win, I don't see any way that they don't make the college football playoff.
I feel like it's always a pencil in, or it's a marker in that SEC and the Big Ten are 1 and 2, and it's always penciled in who that third best team is. You know, there was a couple years it was the ACC. There's a couple years it was the Big 12. And this year, it's definitely the Pac-12 because the Big 12 this year is terrible. Yeah. I'm looking at Kansas. I don't think they're that good. Yeah, they were ranked. But first off, I count this. I don't care about y'all. I count how you ended the season prior. They got stomped by Texas 55-14. They got stomped by Tech 43-28. They got stomped by Kansas State 47-27. Then they lost the Liberty Bowl in overtime to Arkansas. But this year, you know, they were obviously undefeated going in, but beat Missouri State and Illinois, who's the worst team in the Big Ten, and then Nevada and BYU. I thought they were a very fraudulent 4-0 team who got exposed. And as soon as that quarterback went down with the injury pregame, I knew it was over. And you could just look at the box score and see it. I mean, first downs is 33-11. Third down efficiency, Kansas was 0 of 8, 0 for 2 on fourth down. Total plays, 86-46. They had nearly double the plays, so Texas couldn't get off the field, and Kansas was just on the sidelines. The time of possession was 39-18. Was not pretty at all. It was really like the Army versus UTSA game, except Kansas was exposed, and both Army and UTSA are pretty mediocre this season. So switching gears here, I kind of want to go to the NBA because an interesting trade happened over the weekend that, for me, sent shockwaves throughout the league and made me change my already way too early preseason pick. Jrue Holiday, who was on the Bucks, found his way to Portland, ended up getting cut or traded away, made his way all the way back to the East Coast, back in Boston, the other contender in the Eastern Conference. And now, personally, I think Boston should be the favorites. At least, you know, them and Milwaukee are pretty neck and neck. Rylan, when you're looking at the trades, you know, Dame's going to Milwaukee, and now Jrue Holiday's in Boston. Who are the number one favorites in the Eastern Conference?
Oh man, dude, it's got to be right now Boston, right? I mean, they have the star power, you know, not yet quite equivalent to Milwaukee. Obviously, Giannis is a top 3 player for me. Dame is top 10-ish. Jason Tatum's obviously top 5. Jaylen Brown is so weird. Dude can't move with his left hand at all. Like, he's just so weird. But you know, you add Jrue Holiday, that's a good defensive add. They've got depth. They got Porzingis. So right now, as far as an overall unit, I would say the Celtics. Yeah, but Milwaukee's not that far behind, and we're all gonna look dumb in however many months when the Heat somehow make it to the finals again with emo Jimmy Butler. But yeah, as far as the favorites before the season starts, it's got to be Boston for me.
It's funny how the NBA works. How does Jrue Holiday go from the Bucks, right? Gets traded in the Damian Lillard trade to Portland, and then he ends up going to the Bucks, probably their biggest rival in terms of who's going to win the East. It's just how it's strangely. I agree. I think Boston's got to be the favorites now. I think you just look at the depth. I think they have more depth than Milwaukee does. I think it's still pretty close. Honestly, it wouldn't even be surprised if Miami somehow win it. Just Jimmy Butler pulling a bubble again and just carrying. But I think Boston's got it. I think just Jason Tatum is gonna lead the way.
I mean, first of all, I just want to say Portland got a haul for the entire Damian Lillard trade. I mean, we were wondering, the package that they got from Milwaukee, it wasn't that good. They got Jrue Holiday and all that other stuff. But we were wondering they probably could have gotten more from Miami. Then we find out this trade, and they trade Jrue Holiday to Boston, and they get a haul for him. I mean, Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, Tumani Kamara, and then to put in the Milwaukee trade as well, they got the 3 first-round picks, 1 in 2024 and 2 in 2029. So they did what was best for them, and they also helped out Dame because they sent him to a contender in the Milwaukee Bucks. But to answer Luke's question, I would say that, it's a 2-team race in the East right now. It's the Bucks and the Celtics. I would say, though, I have a few concerns for Boston. Injury is one of them. Porzingis, he does have his injury issues, and then another one is Jrue Holiday. He does drop off in the playoffs, and his shooting is another concern. But aside from that, I mean, Boston has the depth. They got the starting 5 now, which should be the best defensive starting 5 in the league. So right now, for me, it's a 2-team race between them and the Milwaukee Bucks.
And I just want to say this before, everything is set in stone or anything's held against somebody. The NBA season does not officially start until, I think it's, well, at least for the Spurs, like October 28th. We got a couple weeks. No one has any official predictions set. And I say that out loud, for myself, because I still don't know which one I'm going to pick. Because like you said, am I really trusting Kristaps Porzingis to be the 3 in Boston? I don't know. I don't know if I want to be held to that yet. So we still have a few weeks, to set that in stone. I do think that Boston is interesting, and I know they're getting a lot of criticism for, you traded Robert Williams, and these players. Or who was it? Could you repeat it?
It was
so they got 3 first round.
They got the 3 first-round picks: DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, which they're probably going to trade away because they got an array of guards there, and then Tumani Kamara.
Yeah, so people are making it sound like, and obviously the Celtics lost. What's his name? Marcus Smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're saying all the pieces they lost. Like, how are you going to get back? Well, they were hitting the Eastern Conference Finals very consistently. I mean, 5 of 7 years or whatever the number is, and it wasn't working. So everyone who's like, you should have just kept the team, kept trying. No, I think you have to, retool everything. I think you obviously kept your main pieces. You kept Jason Tatum. You're still trying Jaylen Brown, at least for a couple more years. Because you have to keep revamping. I mean, you see everybody else revamping when it doesn't work. It's how you get through that next phase. It's how you make that jump to the finals. It's how you take that next step and go win the championship. Rylan, do you not agree with that take? Or
no, I do agree. You have a very short leash in the NBA because everybody wants to build that next super team that can push them through to the finals. And speaking of, I wouldn't call it a super team. Sleeper in the East is depending on what James Harden decides to do, right? I mean, the Sixers still have, you get Harden get you 20 every night. You got Joel, who's a MVP candidate every year. If they can figure it out, and if Daryl Morey and James Harden can hug it out or something, they could be up there too. I like them a lot.
I saw a clip a couple weeks ago. I don't know if this is going to help you or not. I did see them outside on like a private jet, and they were hugging. It looked like James Harden was getting off the jet, and Daryl Morey was there to bear hug them. Looked like they were in good spirits. I don't know if that changes you, but that doesn't change me because I don't buy them. I really haven't. I wasn't a believer last year. I've never feared them. I don't know what it is. I know a lot of people picked them to go to the championship last year, and last year was their best chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't fear them, especially James Harden now.
Yeah, well, I mean, golly, they've been like stumped in the second round for so many years. You got to feel like one of these years, I mean, they're just going to break through and just finally get it done with Embiid and Harden. And if that's true, if they are on better terms, I mean, I don't see. I'm not ruling them out. I've seen. I know James Harden isn't what he used to be. Put on a couple pounds, but he's still an elite player. and you got an even more elite player in Joel Embiid. But it all came down to whether or not he was going to stay in Philadelphia, because I know he held like an event. He's like, Daryl Morey is a liar and this and that, and it wasn't looking good. But what you're saying is true, that they're getting on better terms, and I'm not counting them out. I'm counting at least top 4 in the conference.
And if you want, I mean, I don't even know if it's appropriate to label the 76ers as a sleeper. I mean, we obviously know who the top 2 seeds are because of just the star power. Philadelphia and Miami are obviously 3 and 4, however you want to put them. And I don't even know if it's appropriate to call this team a sleeper, but they just won't get as much coverage. But they had the home court last year, the Cavs, right? Cleveland, weren't they the 4th seed? I think you got to pay attention to them coming out of the
they have
East
Donovan
because,
Mitchell, right? Yeah.
I mean, see what they do. Let's switch to another NBA team, and we'll go local now. Our San Antonio Spurs had their media day today. I had the pleasure to go out there, talk to a couple of the guys, see, everyone what they're ready for this upcoming season, their expectations, their goals, what they've been doing this offseason. The Spurs are obviously a cornerstone franchise in the league. At least they have been the last 2 decades before, Kawhi left and everything's really gone downhill. But we obviously have Victor Wembanyama, the talk of the league. Everyone is excited and anxious to see what he's going to do for us. And we obviously are very soon on October 9th, we have a preseason game. So, just a week away, we're already going to be playing. So let's talk about what we expect to see from our Spurs this upcoming season. Rylan, what are your expectations?
Well, I know people were hailing Wemby as like an alien, the next LeBron coming in. Like Spurs are like, no. You know what? We have a good core of young, talented players, which includes Wembanyama, of course. But I'd say fringe, play-in team maybe if we see some leaps from certain guys, and it also depends on how Popovich wants to manage Wembanyama. Are they gonna load manage him a bunch? Are they gonna play him every night? It just depends on that, because we saw him in 2 games in the summer league. 1 game he looked shaky, everybody was calling him a bust. Next day he comes out, drops 27, he's hitting threes, fist pumping everywhere, and it just depends on how much they want to play him and how much confidence he's going to get, if he doesn't play or if he does play. It's a lot of factors that go into it, but even with that, I'd say probably like a fringe, play-in team maybe in the West.
The biggest expectation I have this year is just trying to get the core of, in my opinion, it's 4 players. It's Wembanyama, obviously, Sohan, Johnson, and Vassell. That's the core, I think, for San Antonio. I just want to see him playing good team basketball. I would hope to get in the play-in. I'm thinking a little higher. I'm thinking maybe like 5 or 6 seed. I actually have a lot of confidence. Yes, I know. I'm getting some looks. I have a lot of confidence. I just think that it's going to click.
Well, I have a question.
All right.
Okay. I don't want to, again,
All
I
right.
said it earlier. We're not going to, nothing set in stone.
No,
just
nothing set in
hypothetically. So you go Denver, the Lakers, the Warriors. How about the Thunder? How about Memphis? That's 6 right there.
Yeah.
Kings are coming back.
Yeah.
Clippers. Portland.
Hey.
Minnesota.
Hey.
Okay. Okay.
Hey.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I just have a feeling. Every time I get this gut feeling in me. I'm not trying to be a crazy. I ain't trying to be a crazy Spurs fan, who say we're gonna win. Wemby's here. I'm not saying that. I have a lot of confidence in the team and the talent we have. I just feel like with the acquisitions we made. Hey man, I know the West is good, but I see some West teams having some down years this year. I honestly think Minnesota is not going to be very good. I don't think Portland's going to do as good as people think. I honestly think that Phoenix is actually going to fall off. As much as y'all, yeah, that's a hot take. I don't think it's going to work in Phoenix, and Durant is probably going to leave. That's what I think. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's revisit Grizzlies, Mavericks, Nuggets, Thunder, Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, Suns.
Hey man.
I mean, I don't know. Phoenix falling off would blow my mind because that makes no sense. You just have there's too much talent to fall off.
Hey,
like
see,
that.
I'll defend Connor in this because I never thought I really do think Phoenix will work, but part of that is because I never thought Brooklyn was going to work. I never ever bought into that. I really didn't think the Clippers were going to work. Maybe their first season, but not after that. After the bubble, fiasco when they gave up the 3-1 lead. I knew. So I understand what he's saying. I do think Phoenix will work. But I mean, I was just naming teams. Portland, I don't think they'll be good either. But 5-6 is crazy for the Spurs, especially what I got today. I was still kind of feeling the vibes that we want to, last year was all about we just want to play hard and get better. This year, coach did kind of say like we want wins now, but I just think that's unrealistic. With all the teams right now, Rylan, are in the West at least seem to be in win now mode.
Yeah, I mean, one of the teams that the Pelicans. That don't move me at all. Zion, I loved Zion, but he just can't. He can't stay on the court, and he's got a bunch of weird stuff going on off the court as well. So that whole team gives me funky vibes. Also, the Mavs giving me funky vibes. I don't think Luka and Kyrie. I mean, what they were had like a 90% chance to make the playoffs. They trade for Kyrie and they missed the playoffs entirely. That's just it's an insane situation, but. I do think the Spurs are a year at least away from being in the playoffs, like as a certified playoff team. There's too many stars. Like once the LeBrons, the Kevin Durant start to leave or retire, because LeBron's got 1, maybe 2 years until Bronny comes in. I know he said that was a goal for him, but yeah, I'm not seeing it this year as a 5 or a 6 seed at least. They could, if Wemby's really like that. Because, I mean, if he's everything that was advertised, and if they play him, maybe. You never know, but it's unlikely for me. I'm not seeing it.
2 things first. Connor, I'm sorry. Top 5 seed. That's kind of nuts. But second of all, I went to one of the Spurs games last year, so I'm glad I can say I got to watch them before they have their.
Which one was it?
It was against the Rockets. They lost.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had money on that game.
Yeah, I was. It was disappointing, but. I'm glad I got to watch them before when they suck, so I can say I watched them before they had a Wembanyama. But my expectations for them, I think it should be the play-in. I'm excited to see how Wemby's going to look. Obviously, like you guys said, they have Sohan, they have Vassell, they have all the young pieces around them, and they also have one of the best coaches, maybe the best coach of all time, in Greg Popovich. So I'm excited to watch them this year. And for me, I think their ceiling is 8 seed, but they're most likely going to be 8 seed or 7 seed, but they're probably going to be like 10 or 9.
And honestly, that's crazy just to think about. Because I'm a Thunder fan, and the Thunder are just not. I'm not talking about personnel, even though they are, but they're ahead in terms of the rebuild process. So they made the playoffs in 2020. Were terrible in 2021. They overachieved in 2022. 2023, this last postseason, they just making the play-in. Everybody was like, this is such a great year. They are way ahead. And now we expect the Spurs in year 1 to be 8 or 9, let alone the 5 seed. So those are big steps. I think if they're top 10, that would be. I think there's injuries all over the West if that were to happen, because I don't think Victor's playing that much. I think the biggest kind of expectation or goal, honestly, for me, I'm not even talking about wins or numbers. It's who is that guy besides Victor Wembanyama. I think it's really to test out is Devin Vassell. Can he be him? Because I don't think it's Keldon Johnson, and I think the Spurs know it's not Keldon Johnson. I mean, he's a great player, a great guy, but he's not a 1 or a 2 or a 3 on a champion. I mean, he's a good role player, but I think Devin Vassell can be a 22-point-a-game type of guy. Rylan, do you not agree with that? Or
well, I mean, you better hope so, because they just gave him, $146 million today,
as of like an hour ago.
Literally an hour ago.
So congrats to you, Devin.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. And a lot of this season projection for this season is what player besides Wembanyama is going to take that next step, to really give us a solid. Because we know Wemby's going to be a star.
So who's going to go with them?
Basically? Yeah, exactly.
Let's figure that out.
Yeah.
So Devin will be the best because we know it's not going to be Trey Jones.
Yeah.
We know it's not going to be Keldon Johnson. I don't think he's going to stay on the team, too much longer. He's a good vet now, which is crazy. He's a vet because he's 24, but everybody else is like 20. And pieces like Malachi Branham, who I really do like, and I think he could be beneficial. Obviously being a 7th or 8th man off the bench, but just to see all these guys take that next step, I think that should be the biggest.
Oh, City Sissoko too, dude. That man can move that rock, dude. I was watching him in summer league. He can pass like crazy. I was excited, and he plays good defense. So I'm excited. He's gonna be a good piece as well. Also coming from France, I believe.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited for our Spurs. Excited to see what they do these next couple of weeks at practice. So before we get out of here, let's switch back to football because unlike basketball, football is actually in season. Mm-hmm. And let's go to the NFL. A lot of interesting games happened this weekend. A couple off the top of my head, the Bengals are terrible. They lost. So we're not going to – new rule, we're not talking about the Bengals for the rest of the season because they are not a team. I had the best upset prediction of the week, even though it wasn't actually an upset because it didn't happen. The Eagles and Commanders game was close, so have to pat myself on the back for that. But we'll go to Rylan first. Rylan, your team hasn't played yet. They play tonight. But going back yesterday on Sunday or Thursday night football, if that interests you, what were some of your takeaways in the NFL?
Well, man, I mean, one of the games that everybody was looking forward to this weekend was Buffalo versus Miami, right? And we're expecting this shootout, Josh Allen, Tua, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, just going at it. But, I mean, Buffalo just looked so much better than Miami. I mean, winning by 28 points against a team that literally dropped 70 last week is impressive. And to be fair, in hindsight, it's a little bit – you come off of a win like that, you think you're invincible. It's a perfect time to get, punched in the mouth by a division rival. So I think it was a statement win by Buffalo. They had a rough week 1, losing to the Aaron Rodgers-less Jets. I mean, that team was dead in the water, and they just let them come back and beat them. So I think that was a good win. The Bears and the Broncos game was somehow the best and the worst game of all time. I mean, you saw Justin Fields throw like 4 touchdowns, look at his best, and he lost. They still lost to the Broncos, who, I mean, give Russell Wilson all the credit in the world. He's looked so much better than he did last year. But that defense, couldn't stop a nosebleed if they tried. But so it was good for them to come out, get that first win, although it was against, the Bears. But I think that game, and I think the Tampa Bay beating the Saints was an impressive win. I mean, Baker Mayfield has looked so good this year. Got beat by the Eagles because everybody does. But I think it was a bad decision for Derek Carr to rush back, put up 9 points. Same thing with Alvin Kamara. I mean, Alvin Kamara didn't look that great either. But last thing before I give it to somebody else, C.J. Stroud looks amazing. I mean, the best rookie quarterback since Herbert, and Herbert set the bar pretty high. So beating that Ohio State quarterback curse, looking real nice out there, throwing the tank though. That's a pretty cool connection, the Houston connection. So those are my takeaways for this week.
Yeah, you took it right out of my mouth, man. C.J. Stroud's him, bro. The Texans looked really good against it is the Steelers, but they looked really good. How can I not talk about my Cowboys? I said it's the most Cowboys thing. They're going to lose to the Cardinals, but they're going to blow out the Patriots. What did they do? They absolutely destroyed the Patriots. Mac Jones looked terrible, absolutely abysmal. And I had a lot of hope for him when he went out of Alabama. I'm like, oh my God, this is the Brady region everyone's talking about. Not happening at all. Dak had a good game. 28 of 34, 261 yards on a TD. Pretty good. Pretty consistent. Cowboys didn't really run the ball that well, I didn't think. I mean, Turpin had a 46-yard carry, but Pollard only had 47 yards. But the defense kind of stole the show again. Deron Bland had 2 picks. There's a fumble recovery. I think Van Der Esch had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. So the defense showing again, top 5 defense in the league. Could even be top 3. I would say top 3. But I'll just be general and say top 5. Of course, my Cowboys, I'm so happy that they bounced back, but I'm still not too optimistic. The other game, shout out to the Chargers. My boy Justin Herbert, he's him. Finally get a win because, I remember week 2, he had over 300 yards passing both games and they still lost. So at least they're finally getting on the winning track.
So how can I not talk about my Baltimore Ravens dominating the Cleveland Browns? I mean, Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews absolutely dominated in that first half. And Lamar looked unstoppable in this game, had 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and Mark Andrews as well looked really good. That catch that he had to end the first half in the end zone, mossing, I think 3 defenders, was unbelievable. And then Lamar Jackson escaped the pocket several times in this game, and on one of those, threw it downfield to Zay Flowers, was another great throw. And for Cleveland, Dorian Thompson-Robinson looked abysmal. was holding onto the ball for too long, couldn't make any downfield throws. He looked good in the preseason, but today, on Sunday, he looked nervous, looked like he didn't know what to do, and the Browns offense struggled immensely, putting up only 3 points. And as a Ravens fan, I'm sorry, Luke, I know you said not to talk about the Bengals, but the Bengals got absolutely dominated against the Titans. I don't want to rub it in, but I do have to bring a stat to you right here. It was very, very telling. Joe Burrow only completed 1 pass over 10 yards in that game. The Bengals just did not look good against one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL, having T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Didn't look good. So sorry about that. But just to look at the other games, the Lions are for real. Absolutely dominated the Packers, dominated them in the trenches. I put in here in my notes 22 yards for some reason, but it was over 200 yards. Absolutely destroyed them in the first half. I mean, they went up 27-3 at one point, and the Packers had a little bit of a comeback, but Lions put it away at the end. And then looking down some of these games, the Dolphins, are they frauds? They've only put up 20 points against the Bills. No, I'm just kidding. But the Bills absolutely dominated them, 48-20. Josh Allen, after that week 1 performance against the Jets, I mean, he looks like the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And I'm a big fan of Lamar, but Josh Allen looks unbelievable right now. And had it not been for that first game against the Jets, he'd probably be the front runner for MVP right now. Who knows? He probably still is. But and another game that I'm looking at, like Rylan said, the Bears. How do you let the Broncos come back after going up 28-7 on them? How is that even possible? They were up, I think it was 28-14 going into the fourth quarter, allowed 17 points in one quarter. If I was a Bears fan right now, I don't even know what I would do. Yeah, exactly. I mean, somebody has to get fired, whether it's Matt Eberflus or the offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. Somebody has to get fired. That's been one of the worst. This has arguably been a worse start than last season, and last season was awful. So,
well, I could go down and read the scores from every game and just say, what they did in the fourth quarter, how many yards they got, and say all these numbers. But there's just nothing to be hopeful about looking at this past week. I mean, you look at the Browns. They beat the Titans 27-3. And then the Titans turn around and flip that script on the Bengals, the other team from Ohio, and go 27-3. And the Browns obviously beat the Bengals 24-3. And the Steelers beat them. The Ravens beat them. So everybody in the division can beat each other except the Bengals, because everyone beats up on the Bengals in 2023, I guess. Been a very disappointing season. No, but besides that game, because that game truly didn't interest me because they're just not a good team. I really do think what Baker's doing in Tampa Bay is awesome. Beat the Saints 26-9 because that was kind of for the division sneakily. Now Tampa Bay's 3-1. They're low key rolling right now. Baker kind of laughing in everybody's face. They beat the Bears early on in the season. They beat the Vikings. They lost to the Eagles, but somebody said it. Everybody loses to the Eagles. Rylan, how are you feeling about Baker Mayfield?
Believe it or not, when we traded Russell Wilson, I actually wanted Baker Mayfield in Seattle. Everybody hated on me for it, and then he obviously went to the Panthers, stunk it up, went to the Rams, was a little bit better. So it's nice to see Baker, get a team that believes in him, right? He had the QB competition with Kyle Trask, but I mean, obviously
it was a competition.
right, mid versus mid, but no, he's gone out there, he's done his thing, he's cut back on the turnovers, which is a big part of what people had a problem with Baker, right? He was just kind of erratic, throwing the ball everywhere, and anybody saying it's not impressive to have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 3-1 is lying to you. Baker Mayfield, he's done his thing. Yeah, he stumbled against the Eagles. They're a really good team. They're a championship contender. But, I mean, you can't take away 3-1 from him because, win's a win. And a lot of people didn't think Baker Mayfield had that in him. He has it in him right now.
And honestly, with this week, we kind of just solidified, what we knew. Chiefs won. They're probably the team to beat in the AFC. Cowboys won, Eagles won, Niners won. They're the teams to beat in the NFC. We'll have another episode on Wednesday to talk more about these upcoming games on both Saturday and Sunday. We got to get to copy editing. We're a man down, and we're still at a longer episode than we've had before. And then Rylan Seahawks do come on in here in a couple hours. Hopefully we'll get to see some good football. Like I said, we'll be back here Wednesday to talk about these upcoming games. Thank you for listening today. Okay.